Okay. I'm back, sort of, back in action. Um, but we'll see how it goes. So today, I just want to go through and give you an idea of what to expect for the test, because that's on Thursday. And so we've got uh, test number 1 on Thursday. And I do want to thank you for being so patient and being so um, just good while I've been sick. So I really appreciate that. It was a doozy. I don't know. I don't recommend it. Test number 1 on Thursday. Wow, I haven't written in a long time, have I? Yikes. Um, so it's on uh chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, although we only did a little bit of chapter 3, and then up to and including the binomial. Okay? And so uh, let's start with the outline for the test, just so we have an overview. So I went through, so it's going to be on Moodle or Mom, whatever you like to call it. And this is the same as the assignments. So you're familiar with the platform, and the questions will be similar to the assignments. Now, what I want to highlight is that no Excel will be tested. Now, I say that, but you're allowed to use Excel since this is an online class. You'll have access to Excel if you want to. Okay, and so that's totally fine. But I'm not going to test you on Excel skills because that's not fun under pressure. So no Excel uh, tested. Okay. So just similar to the assignment questions. It's open book. You're allowed to, use your resources, just obviously not Google things and obviously not work together, but you can use Excel, you can use um, the formula sheet and the tables if you prefer on the that are posted on Moodle. Um, and so it's open book. So completely open book. I'm not going to use Lockdown Browser. I find that it just kind of makes a mess. And so I'm not going to do that. You don't have to be in the Zoom room. I'm not going to watch you do the test or anything. I just find that that's kind of weird. And so you're on your own, and because it would be very stressful to have someone kind of watching you do it. But so I'll be in the Zoom room during the test. Okay, and so the test has to be written during class time. Okay. Must be, I guess I can't say written. Written. Typed during class time. So 9:30 to 10:50, I guess, on Thursday, and I will be in the Zoom room if you have questions, but you don't have to be there. It's just I want to be available if you have something that comes up. Oh, I don't understand what this is means, whatever, right? And so I will be in the Zoom room during the test. Oh, that says during, but doesn't look like it, does it? During the test, in case you have questions. So I'll be available in case you have questions, but you don't have to be there. Okay. What else did I have? Let's see here. Um, time to do the outline, maybe. I'm sure I'll think of more things, but so it goes. If you have kind of, oh, how long is the test? So you'll have the full class time to do it. It is 64 marks. If that, I'll give you a breakdown of the marks. And so let's see here. So the outline is such. Now it's a little bit disproportionate. The chapter 1 is weighted quite heavily. It's not multiple choice. It's kind of some multiple choice, some short answer, similar to the assignments, right? And some numerical answers require quite a bit of work, right? So but each answer is one mark. Okay, so some are quick and easy, and some require a little bit more work. So from chapter 1, let's see here, which was quite some time ago. There's 16 marks. Okay. And I have, not that it matters, but just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. Let's see here. But obviously some of those questions then have multiple parts. So just to give you an idea. And for me, I always like to do a test chronologically, the way that we've seen it. So you will have the chapter 1 questions first, and then the chapter 2 questions, and then the chapter 3, and so on. So I find that kind of helps guide me, and it just makes it less confusing. So they're not going to be jumbled or anything. They're going to be appearing in the order that we tackled them. Okay. And so the first 6 questions are from chapter 1. And those things like what's a numerical variable? What's a categorical variable? All that kind of fun stuff. You do get attempts. It's not going to tell you the answer is right or wrong. So, so you can change your answer, but you aren't able to check your answer. Let me add that up here. So, you will not be able to check your answer. Oh, looks like I'll need more space here. I knew it. Give myself 2 lines to check your answer. So you get 1 shot, essentially. But if you do want to go back and change your answer before you submit the test, then you're able to do that. Okay. Let's see here. So from chapter 2, that's when we started getting into numerical measures of center and spread. We did the 5-number summary. We did all kinds of fun stuff just in terms of summarizing data, right? And so from chapter 2, there are 12 marks. And 1, 2, 3 questions. So, like I said, a little bit disproportionate, pretty heavily weighted on chapter 1, but I like to do that just because those questions are usually a nice warm up and just kind of fun. Chapter 3, now we're into probability, everyone's favorite thing, right? And so let's see here. I've got 15 marks for probability, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Uh, so they all have little subparts for the most part. Okay. And then we have chapter 4. Now, chapter 4 introduced two big concepts, the Z-score and the binomial. So I'm going to split that into two parts. So chapter 4, Z-scores is 11 marks. And how many questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 questions for the Z-scores, and then the binomial is 10 marks. Kind of a heavy hitter for 3 questions. Okay. So it's a total of 64 marks. And whatever the sum of the questions is, that number of questions. Math, right? Sorry. So that's the test. And like I said, just similar to the assignment questions, obviously not the same, but some of those assignment questions are quite difficult. And so I wouldn't do that to you on a test. Now, test questions feel harder because you haven't seen them before, right? And so, so just practice those assignment questions. I've also posted, in case you missed it, let's see, let's go to our Moodle page here. How do I make this bigger? Anyways, so, oh, I've marked it done, I guess. You've got the formula sheet. Now, the formulas, we're only going up to binomial, so the formula sheet is working chronologically as well, kind of newspaper style. And so the first column on the left-hand side is what we're using up to and including the binomial. Now the Poisson is one that we are going to skip, but I'm going to put a bonus assignment for you to work on if you want to over the reading break. So I don't want to introduce that now because it's not on the test, so I don't want to make it confusing, but I'll post this bonus assignment. Now, how that's going to work is I'll just drop your lowest grade. So if you don't do it, then that assignment's going to be dropped. However, if you do it, it would replace a lower grade. And so hence the bonus assignment. And so just introducing a new distribution called the Poisson, and just kind of fun to have a broader range of distributions. And so the formulas are on the formula sheet, but not on the test. And let's see here. And I saw I had is Brian is here. Okay. So I got a question, an email this morning, but that I haven't replied to. But I'll tackle it here because I'm sure you're not the only one. You are allowed to use the tables, but if you prefer to use Excel to find these probabilities, that's totally fine. What I do for these online tests, because sometimes it's marked wrong and it should be marked right, and so I do go through them and I kind of mark them by hand, and so So if you're using Excel, just make sure that you round your Z to 2 decimal places, because then it'll match the table more closely. But you're allowed to use the table. You can use Excel, whichever you'd like. Okay. So in the videos, I use the table because that's what we use in person. Kind of clunky, very old school. So I encourage you to use Excel if you'd like. Okay. Let's see here.
Oh,
Hey,
hello. Can I ask a question? Sorry. So, we should round the z-score to two decimal place first. Otherwise, there will be a minor difference, right? Because
that's
I
right.
used the Excel to do the assignment. All of them have little difference in 3 or 4 decimal place. It's very close.
Yeah, that's because uh I've made it to match it doing it by hand. But if it's
Mm.
very close, just make sure that you round your Z to 2 decimal places, and then it should match very closely.
Mm. Oh,
Which
okay.
is kind of weird because if you're using the whole value of Z, that's better. But for in terms of answering the assignments, then rounding to 2 decimal places is good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. That's why there is small difference. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice.
Mm.
Okay. So in week 5, I posted practice for test 1. Now this is more for when we do it by hand, but the questions are good for practice still, and I posted the solutions, and I know people scroll through here, um, and oh, I guess this breakdown doesn't apply to us. This is old. I forgot that was on there. Uh, just ignore that. Uh, but you've got the solutions. And everyone always says, 18 pages, are you insane? But I am. I am insane. Okay, so you've got the practice for test 1 just for extra practice, just to give you an idea. But also in the practice for test 1, um, I skipped this concept that's in question 6, and I did mention it in the announcement yesterday. Um, just don't worry about this one. Might be fun to try it because it's a fun idea, but it's not on the test. Okay, let's see here. I think that's good. Um, you'll have the option of submitting your work. So if you're doing written work on the side, then if you submit it um, as a single PDF, so you'll have to scan it and submit it, then I can check your work against the answers that you gave me and potentially give you part marks. But you don't have to. Um, Especially on test 1, there are a lot of just kind of right or wrong answers, and so there's not a lot of part marks to be had, but it's always nice to be able to submit your work, and then if you do, I'll look at it as I go through your test and just see if I can get you any part marks. Okay, so um so you'll be able to submit your work, but you don't have to. Okay, let's see here. Uh, well, we're not doing that today. We're doing this. Things change. I was looking at the negative binomial. We'll skip it. Okay, let's see here. I'll make a note of being able to submit your work. I need more room, don't I? You will be able to submit your work, but you don't have to. So there's going to be a Dropbox on Moodle. Um,
Can
as
it be in Excel? Actually, I don't have a calculator. I work out everything in Excel. Can I upload my
Oh,
work as an Excel?
yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
thanks. That's great.
As I'll do a PDF or Excel sheet. Good. Uh that works for me. In fact, that's great. Okay, but you don't have to. So you don't have to submit your work. If you feel like there's nothing to submit, that's totally fine. And that's usually how people feel for test one. Now, for test two, then there's going to be kind of things that you'll want me to look over. And so then you'll probably be submitting work. So it's more to practice for that. Okay. Let's see here. Any other questions? No. I've got my eye on the chat if you've got a question.
Emily, um, in that practice test, I have a
Yes.
question regarding that dolphin question.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Let's-
yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it in a mathematical way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just gonna bring this in so that I can, okay. Oh, everything's new. Oh boy. I'm too old for them to keep updating my notability. Okay. So I'll snag this. And do you want me to just go through the whole thing?
yes, please.
You bet. So I'll do that. I'm going to bring that in, but I also have a question here. So there is a time limit, just the class time, and I'll make a note of that as well. The test is available 9:30 to 10:50 on Thursday. So you'll want to start when class starts so that you have the whole time, and then it'll close. It'll submit your answers. So even if you haven't pressed submit, when it closes, it'll submit your answers. So don't worry about that. But yeah. Okay. So good. Now, been a while since I did this one. Okay. Need my pointer. Let's see here. So Hacksaw's Boats takes tourists on a daily dolphin/whale watching cruise. Their brochure claims an 80% chance of sighting a dolphin or a whale. And you can assume that sightings from day to day are independent. Suppose that there's a 75% chance of seeing a dolphin and a 15% chance of seeing both a dolphin and a whale. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list the 3 probabilities that are given. So the first probability is 80% chance of seeing a dolphin or a whale. So I guess the first thing I should do technically is I'm going to let D be seeing a dolphin. And W be seeing a whale. So then the first probability that we're given is D or W is 0.80. So often we give probabilities as percentages, but for our math, we have to use the decimal version. and the proportion. Okay, so that's this first probability, a dolphin or a whale. And then we have a 75% chance of seeing a dolphin. So the probability of a dolphin is 0.75. And then a 15% chance of seeing both a dolphin and a whale. And so we've got the probability of a dolphin and a whale is 0.15. Okay. What's the probability of seeing a whale on the cruise? And so I'm going to bring in from our formula sheet the part that we're looking at. But what you want to do is you want to look at the information that you have. So you have an or probability, a singular probability, and an and probability. And let me just see if I have. I don't think I've even. Oh gosh. What is this all? Oh boy. I need the formula sheet. Import. So in terms of the probability formulas, there's a lot on here, but a lot of them are common sense. Sort of. Probabilities have to be between 0 and 1. All the probabilities together have to add to 1. Something has to happen. And then the complement, 1 minus the probability of something happening, is the probability of it not happening. Then we have the addition rule, and that's the one that I'm gunning for here. Notice that we have 3 of the 4 probabilities here. So we have the or probability, we have a singular probability, we're missing the other singular probability, and then we have the and probability. So if you map the A's and the B's to your W's and your D's, haha, kind of rhymed, then we get that the probability of D or W is the probability of D plus the probability of W minus the probability of D or W. Try not to write on the formula sheet there. Now we have 3 of the 4 of these components, and in fact, we're asked to find what's the probability of seeing a whale. So the probability of seeing a whale. This is the one that we want, and this is part B, I guess. So we want this one. So we know the probability of D or W is 0.80, and we know the probability of D is 0.75, plus the probability of W, which is the one that we're trying to find, minus 0.15. I'll use this calculator because it's faster, but what do I have to do? I'm going to solve for P of W, and so I'm going to subtract 0.75 and add 0.15 to the other side, so I get P of W is 0.80 minus 0.75 plus 0.15. 0.75 plus 0.15, and I get 0.20. So the probability of seeing a whale is 20%. Okay. Good. For part C, so the probability of seeing a whale includes when you see a dolphin and a whale, right? And so what's the probability of seeing a whale but not a dolphin? And so here, it might be easier to solve this with a Venn diagram. Now, what we're going to see is we could have solved part B with a Venn diagram as well. So let's have a look. let's make this Venn diagram. So I've got my sample space here, or my universal set, whatever. And this represents all the possibilities of things that can happen when you go on this cruise or this tour. Okay, you could see a dolphin, you could see a whale, you could see the overlap, the dolphin and a whale. Wow, score. And what's the outside region? Seeing nothing, right? Which is also an option. So here we've listed all the options. Now, when you're working with these Venn diagrams, what you want to do is you want to always start in the center and write down the probability or the count in the center, and then subtract that as you move out. And so we have the probability. So this here is the probability of a dolphin and a whale, which we were told is 0.15. Okay. So then, if the probability of a dolphin, now the probability of a dolphin is the entire dolphin circle. And so what I'm going to do in terms of my pieces here is I'm going to talk about just this half moon area for a second. Because I know, what was it? Probability of a dolphin is 0.75. So I know the entire dolphin circle has to add up to 0.75. But I've already taken 0.15 here, which tells me that this half circle must be 0.60 or 60%. So that's the probability of seeing only a dolphin. Yes, here you see a dolphin, but you also see a whale, right? And so what we're after is we want to do the same thing on the W side. What's the probability of seeing a whale but not a dolphin? And so from the previous part, we know that the probability of seeing a whale is 0.2, right? So the whole whale circle is 0.2. Wait, but we've got 0.15 of that taken over by the dolphin and a whale. And so I've got 0.05 here, and I'll just clarify that this is 0.20 minus 0.15. Now, of course, you could do that in your head if you had a good understanding of the overlap, but the Venn diagram certainly helps to kind of figure out the pieces. So now let's just confirm what can we check against? We know that the probability of a dolphin or a whale, which is this circle or this circle, right? We know that that has to add to 0.8. So let's just make sure. So if I add up all these individual pieces, so 0.6 plus 0.15 plus 0.05, phew, 0.8. And then we can fill in the last little piece here. What's the probability of seeing nothing? Well, it must be 0.20 because the total probabilities have to add to 1. Okay. Let's see here. Equals 0.05. So the probability of a whale and no dolphin is 0.05. Now, part D, are seeing a whale and seeing a dolphin independent events? So independent events is when knowing that one thing has happened, does that affect the probability of the next thing happening? So knowing that I've seen a dolphin, does that impact the probability of seeing a whale? Now, I I often use the multiplication rules for A and B for independent events, okay? Then the probability of A and B is equal to the probability of A times the probability of B. Now, we have to remember that that's only true if they're independent. So I use that as my argument. Okay? And so here D are D and W independent. Okay. And I'm gonna snag from the formula sheet here the part that I'm using. They are independent if this is true. And now it has to be exactly true. And so let's see here. So we want to know, is the probability of D and W equal to, and I'll put a little question mark because we don't know, right? That's what we're trying to find. Is it equal to the probability of D times the probability of W? Now, the probability of D and W was 0.15. Is that equal to the probability of D, which was 0.75, times the probability of W, which we found was 0.2? Now, 0.75 times 0.2 is 0.15, which means that that is true. Oops. Usually they're not independent, but in this case, they are. So since the probability of D and W is equal to the probability of D times the probability of W, we can conclude D and W are independent events. Oops. There. Nice. Good. Any other questions? Or questions about this one?
No, that Venn diagram really helps. Thanks.
Yeah, I know you gotta pick apart the pieces, but then it's easier to work with for sure. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm not seeing any. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stop the recording, and then, but I'll stick around in case you have other questions. How about that? And if I don't see you for the test, good luck, have fun, and that's it. I'll stop this recording though.